Okay, so the British and Irish Lions squad for 2013 tour to Australia was named today. There were some surprises, and there were a lot of players who were expected who have made it, as is per usual. The captain is Sam Warburton, which is, I think, one of the most divisive decisions taken by Coach Gatland. He's overlooked Paul O'Connell and Brian O'Driscoll overlooked that experience for, I suppose, somewhat of a wild card in Warburton. He hasn't captained Wales in a while. He hasn't played well for Cardiff in a long time. He very arguably deserves a place on a test team. He was dropped even for Wales quite recently, so yeah, it's a strange one, but that's what Gatland has gone for. For the back three players, he's gone for an unusual split of three fullbacks and four wingers. The fullbacks, it seems to be that Stuart Hogg is intended to back up 10. I've never seen him playing at 10, but apparently he can back up that position. Carney and Halfpenny can both play on the wings, so they offer a bit of versatility. For the wings, the two Welsh wingers, George North and Alex Cuthbert, were selected. Tommy Bowe, he hasn't played a whole lot this season, but he's a very high caliber player, and it's not a huge surprise that he's been picked. Matlin's quite a big surprise. He's a clever player. He's a good ball player, but he hasn't been on the scene for very long, and people probably would have expected someone like maybe Zebo ahead of him, but that hasn't happened. The centres are quite predictable, really. Brian O'Driscoll, Jamie Roberts are there again. Davis and Tuolagi. I suppose the only real point of comment on the centres is the fact there's only one regular 12 out of those, although Owen Farrell can also play 12, so it may not be a huge problem. Brian O'Driscoll could be moved to 12 either, but there are, I suppose, three 13s there, so that's interesting. At halfback, it's unusual. Only two out halves would be selected. Johnny Sexton, Owen Farrell. There's no surprises there. People did expect there'd be a third. Wilkinson was probably going to be that third, but he has rejected the call up. So somebody will have to fill in, probably Stuart Hogg. Scrum halves, no major surprises really. Mike Phillips will be favoured to start the test. Conor Murray, Ben Youngs, very accomplished scrum halves. Some people will talk about Danny Kerr, Greg Laidlow. There really isn't a whole lot between those guys, so no shocks. Into the forwards, the back row is maybe the most competitive area on the field. There's a lot of good back row players who didn't get on this tour. There's Rob Shaw for England. There's Peter O'Mahony for Ireland. So there's Morgan as well for England. So I think it's quite surprising that Croft has got a place here, but I would say the reason is for experience, because there's I think only 14 of the 37 have actually been on a Lions tour before. So the experience that Croft has is maybe gives him the edge over inexperienced players like Rob Shaw, O'Mahony, or Morgan. Elsewhere, four Welsh players there. Tipperix in form. Faletau's probably the strongest eight at the moment. Lydiate hasn't played a whole lot, but was excellent before his injury. Warburton, he's captain, but he's probably the weakest link of the four, and it could be a bit of a dynamic over the tour that maybe he'll be getting starts that he doesn't deserve because of his captaincy. But we'll see. The Irish duo, Sean O'Brien, fully deserving. Jamie Heaslip will surprise some people. His form hasn't been that good over the past few years, so to get a Lions call up will definitely irk some people. For the second rows, Paul O'Connell's late recovery deserves him a place. The Welsh duo of Evans and Alan Wynne-Jones have been playing very well towards the end of the Six Nations. Parling really announced himself the Six Nations, well deserved. The surprise there, probably Richie Gray. He's had an awful season. He's been less pronounced for Scotland than usual. He's had a hard time at Sale in his first season there. So I think people maybe a year or two ago all expected him to be named in this squad, but recently considering form, this is quite a surprise. I think people expected someone like Launch Reese, maybe Donncha Ryan, maybe even Nathan Hines from Claremont if he was available. Not Richie Gray, but he's got the call, and maybe he'll rise to the occasion. In the front row, Gethin Jenkins, Cian Healy, Adam Jones, Dan Cole, they picked themselves. A lot of people are surprised over Vunipola and Stevens. Vunipola has been in good form lately, and I think the appeal might be that he offers something dynamic from the bench. Stevens is a guy that nobody expected to see in this announcement. He was banned for cocaine use a couple of years ago. He's not really been around the international scene a whole lot. He's 30 years old. He's not a young player. Nobody really thought of him as a serious character for this tour, but he's got there ahead of guys like Mike Ross, and yeah, I suppose Gatland is maybe hedging his bets on him a little bit, and Hooker's probably, if you exclude Rob Shaw because back row is a very competitive area, I would say Rory Best's omission is the surprise of the squad announcement. Hooker is not an area of strength, and to not have Rory Best in your top three is a very strange and unexpected turn of events. Dylan Hartley is a very divisive character. Yeah, we'll put it like that. Tom Youngs is probably average. Hibbard, average on decent form. I don't think that there's an outstanding hooker, but most people did expect to see Rory Best name there, and most people probably expected to see Best starting the tour. So that's the squad for the Lions tour. The first game is the Barbarians on the 1st of June. It was said by Gatland today that's going to be mostly Welsh players because not everybody is going to be available to him for that game. Obviously, some players have Amlin or Heineken Cup games at that time. There's also Rabo playoffs and so on that they might not be ready for training for things like that. After that, there's June 5th is the first sort of warm-up game of the tour. That's against Western Force. And then the first actual test in the tour is on the 22nd of June. So, and that'll all go on till the 6th of July, where we'll know the final result. So yeah, it should be an interesting month and a bit.